think that the guy's fundamental thesis is right. It would create a lot of jobs to reinvigorate our rail service, but not like that. That's not how you do it.
RuneKnight started talking about trains, and I went live because I had to get that on air.
All right.
Okay, cool. No. There's some dumb shit that wants to create. I believe they called it Mega Rail. I'm assuming it's some kind of electric rail service like they got in Japan.
Yeah.
Right? Except there were a lot of suggested rails that were all stupid, but the one that stuck with me, the one that I actively said, no, what the fuck's wrong with you, was a rail going from Washington State to the southern tip of California, right? All along the San Andreas Fault, all along the western edge of the Ring of Fire. And then it's like, oh, do you want to die by earthquake, volcanism, or both? Because that's what's going to happen, is someday those things are going to slip, and the entire rail is going to be fucking wrecked. Because it's one long rail.
Also, they were thinking, oh, it's going to be 220 miles an hour. No, it's not, because it's going to go through major cities, so it's going to slow down.
I just want to point out that when people start talking about building trains, Patriots need to be worried.
Yeah. So anyway, we have,
especially on the Day of Remembrance.
We have a very special show planned.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Before we start, I do have something I want to say. Since
yes.
It is 9/11.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we've all decided that we're going to be respectful because that was a major tragedy and people lost their lives, and we're not going to make any jokes because any joke we make is just going to crash and burn.
Exactly.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, no, we don't have to. The joke has already been made. Haven't you heard?
No, you missed the joke, Rune, I think.
Okay.
No, he said any joke we make is just going to crash and burn.
Ah, yeah. That's good. No, I'm sorry. I was pre-built to miss that joke because a dumb fuck has already ruined the joke for me.
So let's do the warm opening.
Well, let me fill this in because I'm leaving this dangling and I really can't. So if you guys didn't hear, some dumb fuck from Dumbfuckistan, where they are all dumb fucks and they say dumb fucking things, tried to make the argument that 9/11 no longer matters. Like, we should no longer feel bad. It's no longer important to discuss. And
I replied to that.
Yeah, because 1/6 happened.
Oh yeah, see, I replied to that. I replied to that. I think my reply sums everyone's ideas up. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, my anger, my point, because I eventually responded to it as well. I don't know if I saw your response, but I know I responded to it. Was to point out the logical fallacy here that means we don't have to worry about Columbine, we don't have to worry about Pearl Harbor, we don't have to worry about the Rwandan genocides or the Holocaust, or Rodney King, or George Floyd, or any of the other bad things, because now
or the sacking of Lyndon's farm.
Yeah, any of these things, because clearly there is now not just a meta time limit, but there's an immediate memory limit where it's like, who gives a shit?
You mean I don't have to ever hear about Black Wall Street again?
Yeah, exactly. You know, as long as something sufficiently bad happens, in somebody's opinion, less than 5 years ago, everything else before that just doesn't matter anymore at all. And it's like you dumb fuck.
Alright, so
your ability to feel empathy is clearly retarded. You need to be taken out behind the chemical shed and shot.
The tweet in question is by one Pam Keith Esquire at Pam Keith FL on Twitter. No harassment.
Oh, are we doxing dumb fucks now?
On 1/6/21, comma, space 9/11/2001 ceased being the worst thing that happened in America in my lifetime. It's really weird and painful to process that. But it's the truth, and quite frankly, it's not even close. To which I replied,
Mr. Madison, what you just said
yes.
is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
You remain one.
That is the single best joke in that entire movie. And I like that movie. That movie has some bad jokes. That movie has some okay jokes, but the best joke is just that simple, deadpan statement of how awful things are. Also, Dillard agrees. Dillard also is racked with pain over the Second American Revolution and wants to know what the hell was 9/11. 9/11 is when a bunch of people from the Middle East got lost on the way to 7-Eleven. That's what 9/11 was.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
All right, so let's go to our warm open so we can get this show on the road.
Yes.
You sure?
Let's go
Nobody wants.
Did you ignore my opening statement?
We didn't ignore it. I gave it a sensible chuckle.
And I said, Jesus fucking
No,
Christ.
I said we weren't going to make it.
Because they all crash and burn. Yes, we heard you.
Yes,
You
we heard your comedy.
I hate you so much.
All
right, the rhythm bot's really low. No, it's not. Why is it not?
Professional job, people. Here we go.
Oh, the
I don't
rhythm
get to
bot might
judge.
not be
I was
working.
late.
Interesting. Let's try that again. Nope. Apparently the intro music just not going to play today.
Apparently the gospel has forsaken us.
It's because of that joke, man.
So
let's
Not bad.
So church lay out for the people what we're doing today.
We're apparently trying to write a comic book. I thought everyone was joking when they brought this up, but here we are.
No, we were serious about this, and this is.
Look,
I knew it was a bad idea when it was suggested, but whatever.
Church, no, Church. You gotta understand. Dan Slott made a personal challenge to us to succeed, where he regularly fails and gets paid.
Well, I've already given you guys the story of a lifetime. 5 religious institutions send representatives together to form the mega church lord, and they have to learn. They have to learn how to work together in a buddy comedy.
Oh, I mean that's absolutely true. That's like your single character focused book.
But this is a team book now.
Yeah.
This has to be a team book.
Yeah, this is your Avengers to your Power Rangers.
Yeah, so this is kind of like how Cash Grab originally started out as a joke, and in a couple of years, you'll be out there trying to show this book.
No, never. The only way I'll ever try and shill a comic book is if I actually produce it and have it for sale on a website post-production.
I mean, that is the conversation.
I have learned from the error of so many that crowdfunding a comic book just opens you up to show what a dumbass you are. I mean, some people succeed at it, but the ones that don't, man, they fail fucking spectacularly, right?
Thanks.
Not you. You didn't fund a comic book for 5 figures and then not deliver it, Rune.
That is true. I just couldn't get funding.
That doesn't count. Failing to get funding is not failing to deliver a funded book. We're talking about people that made way more money than they should have needed to completely crash and burn.
Oh, thank you, Knuckle Studios. Apparently, this is what Knuckle Super Studios tunes in for, is our level of quality. So we're doing good.
Which, how you doing, man? Long time no see.
Long time no see, buddy.
I don't even know this person. That's how out of touch I am.
This is the Tales from Nerosville guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which there's an ad for this show. in
In Tales from Nerosville. Yep.
Nice.
Right on. So, so Church, why don't you show the people the art that you paid for this idea?
Oh, it's been up. It's been up.
I was gonna
Alright.
say, is this not the new one of the new church images?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is too, because it has a double purpose.
It does. Well, the original purpose is I read all those fucking Power Rangers books, and I was like, it would be cool is if the Dragon Zord merged with the church, because Megazords can merge with Megazords they weren't meant to merge with, apparently. So,
I mean,
I
okay,
devised. Go ahead.
To be honest, though, Church, we've had this Power Rangers idea.
Oh yeah, turning the
doing the show.
Well, no, turning the church into a Megazord has always been a thing. But the idea of merging it with the Dragon Zord came up because I realized that through the comics that Zords that aren't meant to merge with other Zords can. So I was like, all right, so we got to figure out a way to get Ayrton the dagger so he can summon the Dragon Zord and make it merge with me.
Well, I mean, due to close proximity to me, eventually the church was going to have to get a fursuit. So,
yeah, so I put a dragon hat on. I'm a scaly.
So the church Megazord is
Clip that.
Is like the dog car in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
It's just covered in shag carpeting.
Right.
And then merges with the Dragon Zord.
So you're saying there's a chance.
All right. So,
so who's actually taking notes down for this?
Well, first things first. Rune brought up a good point before we officially started. Is we need to have some minimal level of structure.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you would appreciate it if I didn't suggest things go up asses?
I mean, it's under review, so theoretically we might end up having a format where things go in asses.
Isn't that the thing your first girlfriend said, Church?
Well, first,
like
second,
almost word for word.
I mean, exactly word for word. That's why I have a tattoo of it on my arm so that I remember.
I need to mention this because I think this is pertinent. Dillard said, to be honest, when it comes to things that have affected me directly, the number one most significant was we lived through the pandemic. Number two was Obamacare tax on uninsured. Number 401-911. And then he's now adding things
number
410
number 410 was 9/11.
But he's not adding things. Number 3 being not Comicsgate.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool.
910 was was 1/6, so it wasn't as important as 9/11. Much further down the list.
But I was just saying, it's like, the feels that he is being struck with is just escalating all the time. It's like traveling through the center of the singularity in 2001. It's just weird singing and multicolor splash imagery. But yeah, no, I actually have a comic script open, untitled, and I've got a notepad going for when we actually do notes.
Nice.
My suggestion, which I think is going to be pertinent to our determining ground rules, is since we cover a wide range of experiential foci, that each member of the team gospel should reflect a different style or era of comics, right? And that we should hash out who is what. Because since I am Fuzzy Fang Man, clearly I'm like the 90s or late 80s era tryhard.
Silver Age introduction of science fiction over mystical powers. I'll take that.
Okay.
I call Golden Age really cheesy and really dumb, but kind of fun.
Okay, so we're on board with this idea.
I mean, that works for a narrative framework for the meta fiction. I don't know what that actually leaves me with.
I mean, clearly you're whatever the
You
heroic Bronze or
he would be-
Iron Age is.
Larry would be the grounded comics of the '80s in the Bronze Age, post Silver Age, but pre-heroic age. The grounded style of comic books that started introducing like 3-issue story arcs and things of that nature. He's the logical bit.
All right.
The bit that makes sense.
So I'm not sure how that's going to stylistically reflect, but we can figure that out.
Well, the next step is seriously, what is the cause that brings all these disparate theoretical characters together?
Well, I mean,
All
it's obviously Church's substance abuse problems that caused him to get into a giant mecha.
I was going to say Elon Musk.
Oh,
I mean, those things could be related.
oh,
I was
wait a
gonna
minute.
say a Swedish peace conference.
What if we take the framing device of Hancock, right? Because
You mean what if Superman's semen went faster than a speeding bullet through a person?
no, that's a cute joke. But no, the actual notion that you have the guy from I forgot the name of the family sitcom.
You smell like alcohol,
Jason
Church.
Bateman.
That's because I've been drinking, bitch. Over a mega.
You have this character who has decided his job is to help rebrand and perhaps reform a superhero, right? But we expand it out. It's no longer one superhero and just a charity act. It's now either a business or like a rehab for messed up superheroes. Then, Larry, your theoretical role as the grounded, intelligent person is trying to get this group of ne'er-do-wells, which includes a giant mecha that's intelligent, a edgy tryhard who forgot the 80s ended, and a golden age musician to stop being stupid and start doing superhero shit.
Well, no. The therapist is obviously the villain.
Well, I mean,
yes, I'm so down for that.
And we could tie in M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong's Glass Twist and have it be the Clover Society as the main villain.
So yeah, no. I'm also in this rehab thing, but I'm not entirely sure what my problem is. I'm trying to fix myself for.
Okay.
Several options appear to me immediately. One is nothing's wrong with you, and you just like to go to self-help like Ed Norton and Fight Club.
Oof.
Option 2 is for some reason you just can't have fun, and you think it might be a psychological disorder.
Yeah, that's your problem.
Well, no, I mean, I can have fun, but I can only have fun in an incredibly violent and self-destructive way.
I think it's cocaine.
It could be cocaine.
No. I think I got it. So,
okay.
I feel alienated and separated from everybody, so I'm going to this group therapy session for, superheroes who have problems and are trying to get back in shape because I need friends.
I mean that almost leads up to an actual interesting story, so I'm down with that.
And by the way, Dillard says we have 2 ground rules. 1, it has to be 18 pages, and 2, we have to make a main character.
I think we just discussed it. I think actually somehow Larry is the main character because he's closest to every man.
Yeah.
We all understand being lonely. We all understand being afraid you don't have friends. We all understand looking for a peer group.
Feeling alienated from a world that's changed.
Right, and the joke is that you run into all these completely wacky characters who are themselves isolated and alone, but they have found some level of fraternity among one another.
Oh god, this is just like the Blossom character I was playing in that Street Creep.
Well, and not only that, but issue 1 could be a arc introducing Larry. Issue 2, 3, 4 could introduce different characters as like backstory types before we get into like more of a team.
Yeah.
Okay. So then obviously Since the
I like-
therapist is the antagonist, the therapist has created a problem to try to get us to all solve our own problems.
Right.
So this is like an evil Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Who's also on benzos, and that's why they're evil.
Right.
Like, normally it would be a good guy. It's like a lizard situation, but because he's on benzos, he turns into a shitbag.
Okay, so I have put down Dillard's first two rolls. He's making good rolls, actually. We should get in here. But the third one we should really discuss, which is ground rule number 3. Make it a homeless Zord that is also a Holmesian-style detective with Dick Tracy-style villains.
Well, I mean, realistically, the Power Rangers villains are all kind of Dick Tracy villains, if you think about it.
Kinda. Except for Goltar, because he's the recurrent fuckface.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's right. I've seen a Power Ranger once. No, so, yeah, I basically, what I'm coming away with is that having established that we are these silly range of characters, that our personalities are somewhat hemmed in by our selected era of comics, to give us directionality, because this is less about powers than it is about humor. You know, closer to Mystery Men.
Yeah.
All things considered. The next thing is that the setting has to be reasonably normal, reasonably mundane. I don't think that we necessarily have a Justice League storming around being better superheroes, making us feel bad for not being superheroes.
So we're all in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh.
I mean, besides this, why Dayton, Ohio? For those of us who aren't familiar. Besides, it's the Midwest, and it might be a little boring.
So Dayton, Ohio is... I'm trying to think of how to describe it. If you think of the most boring city possible, where people still do a ton of meth and everybody's miserable because just geographically where they're at and something with the vibrations of the ley lines that go through there, that's Dayton, Ohio.
So Dayton, Ohio is modern Smallville?
Yes.
But it's also a decaying Rust Belt city.
Yes.
I mean, I gotta ask, Church.
Yeah.
Are we ever gonna answer where the Church Zorg comes from?
No.
God, no.
Right.
No.
So, quite literally, it's entirely possible that the Church Zorg is just the hybrid of what happens when you have a lot of Bible Belt energy and a lot of Rust Belt energy together, and a church literally comes together from like a decaying factory.
I think a running gag should be me making like elusive and cryptic like statements about things from my past that I never like give any backstory on.
I would even propose that we never actually state any backgrounds. Like, people ask, and instead of actually giving the extensive heroic origin stories that everyone expects that are going to be really deep, we instead only refer obliquely to horrible things that have happened that got us here.
No, not even that. Like, if you ask where the Zord came from, it just responds like, oh, you know, we all have our time to be born and we all have our time to die. Like, just overly depressing sentences like that.
And also, Dillard, we're not talking about Cleveland. We're not talking about Akron. We're talking about Dayton, Ohio. We're also not talking about Cincinnati.
I mean, I think we could almost go so far, especially since we recently visited there when we did a script reading, of literally just calling it Townsville.
I mean, we could do that too, but basically a decaying Midwestern Rust Belt city full of meth and OxyContin. So also,
actually, Rune, here's a good analogy. So Dayton is Flint,
yeah,
but with like rent that's like $17 higher on average.
We have a couple of
If that makes sense.
we have a couple of cities like that here that we don't talk about because they're in Washington State and we don't talk about them.
So also this therapist villain, because it's an evil Jordan Peterson, he needs to be a Muppet Frog to go with the internet meme of Jordan Peterson being Kermit the Frog.
No,
So
a
he
Muppet
represents-
Crab.
Wait a minute.
His whole
Kermit the
shtick is
Frog or
crab
Pepe?
thing now.
I mean Kermit the Frog, but we could also do it as a crab. But the whole point is he represents like the cute cartoon character comic book. So he thinks he's the one who has his shit together, but he's actually just one of us. But he's gone evil. But he thinks his evil is doing good to help people.
You could go the Scooby-Doo film route, and he actually is a villain by choice because he doesn't get any respect, because he's the cute cartoon mascot and not a superhero type.
Right.
But
the whole idea I had for this is since we're all representing certain genres and aesthetics of comics, the villain should be too. And I thought, Jordan Peterson's known for sounding like Kermit the Frog.
I mean, I almost think that if we wanted to twist the knife a little, you could have a scenario wherein the villain is actually a normal, and it's just a real, an actual normal. And when we get into why are they a villain? How are they a villain? It's like, because actual villains are awful, right? Comic book villains they're not, it's not that they're not bad, but they're cartoonishly bad. The comic book villains have aspirations of global conquest. Real villains do ugly little things you never see.
All right. I can get behind that. So
I witness a lot of things with my family, Dillard. My old man loved kids' movies.
So I think the first page of the comic book is me going to the group therapy session.
Yeah, just walking the first page of the comic book. You've got your inside cover page, and then the first page that has all the text and everything at the bottom, introducing like the writer and artist and everything. That's just a full page shot of the back, like a back shot of Larry while he's looking out at the meeting room where all of the like disenfranchised heroes and mechs and shit are having.
I mean, are we all in view except for the back of Larry's head?
Where the back of Larry's head is in view, we're all in view. I'm looking in through the roof that I've like lifted up.
Okay. Okay.
Can we also make it a running thing that we don't question that Church is just a Megazord walking around? Let's never acknowledge that he's just a giant robot the entire time.
Dillard says it's a boring shot. Have him doing a flip.
Well, I mean, if anybody's going to do the flip, it's Rune's character because he's the '90s tryhard.
I was envisioning that I was actually consigned to a beanbag chair.
You're like a poor man's Wolverine.
It's like, you can have a chair when you stop trying to lick your own testicles.
And I'll never sit.
I'll get out of my chair then.
Well, he keeps trying, but he keeps falling out the chair, and that's a distraction. So clearly, you put him in the beanbag chair.
Or we could do a opening panel shot from the perspective of the church Zord lifting the roof off the building. That could be a way to do the same shot a little more dynamically.
In the process of
sorry guys, I'm late. I got into a whiskey still again.
Yeah, in the process of peeling open the roof like a can of spinach in a Popeye cartoon.
Yeah. So I'm also getting a vibe like this is like the group therapy session from Wreck-It Ralph a little bit now.
Yeah,
actually,
I
I
can
haven't
see
seen
that.
So,
Yeah.
I am bad, and that's okay. I am bad, and that is good.
So my character gets introduced to the group therapy session, and I say, like, my problems are I can't find a romantic partner. I'm alienated from all my family and friends.
Whoa!
I'm just fixated on my job.
Is that an underplot? Is the underplot the quest for love for failed superheroes? Are you trying to find your Black Widow to have a romantic dalliance with?
I mean, clearly that's a side comment, but like, that's his introduction to the group, and Church is like, I'm here because of a court-ordered thing, because apparently it's illegal to drink an entire whiskey still here in America.
And then turn into a car and drive myself somewhere. To the Waffle House. to turn into a car and drive myself to a Waffle House.
It is illegal to drink a whiskey still and then steal a Bigfoot and drive it like a clown car.
So
I thought this was America. Oh, Dillard wants to be Sal from Futurama, so just insert him anywhere. Isn't that the janitor guy that just...
No, that's Scruffy.
No, that's Scruffy.
Yeah, Scruffy.
Scruffy don't break. Mm-hmm.
It's not a boiler or a toilet.
Scruffy believes in this company.
That's basically my character's introduction. Is he has normal problems that are, things that people should seek help with. Oh, Sal is the lazy union guy from Futurama.
Like the used guys, and he has the cigar.
Yeah.
And a white beater. Yeah, that guy.
And wearing the wife beater. But yeah. So like, my character introduces that, and the rest of you had introduced much more horrible problems.
Yeah, Dillard, your character can be addicted to taquitos from 7-Eleven. Like, you, instead of blowing all your money on like scratch offs and stuff, you're just buying taquitos.
And so the inciting incident is for the therapist. My character arrives like going, wait, there's somebody here who's relatively normal, who could maybe organize these people into a group to fight supervillain problems. But then he realizes, oh wait, we live in this boring, decaying, dying town in Ohio.
Sorry, I just love that the Ohio thing is sticking. I hate Ohio so much. This is gonna be great.
They're like, and what are you here for, Joe? It's like, they won't let me kill a guy. Well, who? Just a guy. They won't let me kill him. Well, we live in a country of laws.
No,
killing people is bad.
Joe, no, Joe.
Okay.
If you're like the early '90s tryhard, your character has to be addicted to putting pouches on his clothes.
Yes. when Larry walks in, I'm busily sewing another pouch onto something.
Yes.
And like the therapist says, listen. You remember the pouch guy who was in here, or like the one that Rob Liefeld actually made as a joke. The pouch character had a gun, the shot pouch,
bloodshot.
Yeah, the pouch.
It wasn't just like the pouch.
It said like, you don't want to turn into the pouch, do you?
It's like, pouch didn't have feet.
We could, if we have a graveyard scene at any point, there should be a burial plot for the pouch. And that could be like something that just it's like an unmentionable thing that happened. RuneKnight is wearing Jinko jeans. Yes.
Has a gravestone that is a large, like, knapsack duffel bag style statue.
So the inciting incident is my character comes here, and the antagonist, he can finally give all of these poor, neurotic, broken down heroes something to direct their energy towards, and maybe they can get over their various problems.
I mean, this sounds like a bad enough idea to work.
So obviously he has to come up with something to challenge us, because he's the secret villain who doesn't reveal himself until the end of like the first year of the comic.
Right. We're thinking Doom Patrol here, like the bad
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
I mean, you compound this with the idea that we are not welcome among the police because some of us have tried working with law enforcement only to make more problems for law enforcement.
So I mean, obviously, we know Church's problems for law enforcement. What are the problems for Ayrton's character with law enforcement?
I mean, Ayrton, this is just a suggestion. I am not trying to be insulting, so clarifying where we are. If he's Golden Age and he's a music-themed hero, I think the obvious intimation is that his powers are useless, like Aquaman.
Oof.
Powerful in theory, but it's very much like, hold on, I've got a tune.
So basically, Ayrton's the bard.
Is that an actual hero?
Well, no, like I'm referring to the bard
okay.
as in like the D&D concept.
Yeah.
And your character's problem is, your compulsive urge for violence.
For violence and indulging in try-hard 90s things that we think are cool. So it's like, how many nicotine patches am I currently wearing? Enough that my body feels normal.
I can ride 3 skateboards at once, and I have 2 hats on backwards.
Exactly.
And
I can skateboard while wearing rollerblades.
And my character's problem with law enforcement is when he was doing superheroes, he did it so effectively that people calling law enforcement was down, and so the police union protested.
I just constantly raise hell every time that I get drunk that I never got my royalties from the Iron Giant.
Well, I mean, there's that, and I think that if you do try to help, even if you're not drunk because you're a Zorg, it's like, I'm here to help, and you like step on a building.
No matter what I do.
Yeah. even when you're trying to be helpful, you're breaking things.
Yeah.
Like you try to rescue a cat from a tree and knock down a fire department.
Whoops! Hope you had insurance. Fly away.
Wait a minute. You reach down, you pick up the tree, you pull it out of the root structure, you hand the little girl the greasy smear of a cat.
Oh,
okay.
No, it has to be a little more kid friendly. I just turn the tree over and shake the cat out of it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, little girl's happy, but the rest of the city is mad at you now.
Yeah.
So what's the problem that the police can't solve that the architect of evil creates that we have to solve?
I got this one, boys. I think we covered it in the pre-show. See, we get together because Starro invades. But this is Marvel Comics, so we can't have Starro. Wink, wink. So what other kind? Oh, a giant sea sponge invades from outer space.
a giant space seahorse.
No, but SpongeBob is Patrick's best friend, so.
Oh, true. That or a sea anemone, just because that's obnoxious to say.
I mean, we could always lift a villain that I was going to use in a theoretical book that would actually be a thing. We could use Sinister Squid.
Okay.
Ooh,
He's the mollusk. He's the mollusk Moriarty. He's a intergalactic space pirate.
And he sprays people with ink to put them under his control or some shit.
Oh yeah, totally. That's totally the kind of thing that he would get. His theoretical nemesis is Octodoc, who is a genius octopus. Because if you're not familiar with how octopi are, they've got massive amounts of nerve endings throughout their entire body, which is directly connected to their brain. So he has 8 times the thinking process of a human being. That's how genius he is.
Knuckles Summer Studio said the dreaded chocolate starfish.
And this is even better when it's an aquatic-based life form, when it's in the middle of Ohio.
Exactly.
Melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
And its only access to a source of water is a polluted river and a very large lake.
Oh, that's fantastic.
What does he come for? He's stealing Earth's water. In Ohio?
Look, they're right there by the Great Lakes.
That's true.
Yeah, the Great Lakes that are by Ohio, one of them is one that caught on fire.
Look, every body of
caught
water's
fire
been
in a
on.
long time.
Look, every body of water's been on fire at one point or time. I'm not going to apologize for pissing petroleum and then lighting matches.
I mean, look. The obvious intimation, if it's a water-themed villain, is he's actually going to steal the ocean's water from the planet, right?
But he's going to start it in Ohio.
But
he's expected in Ohio.
Right, he's going to hide his villainous base, like the Legion of Doom, in an underwater dome that's in the Great Lakes.
Also, I think the therapist needs to have Beyonder Jerry curl hair.
You guys are thinking too low, right? You guys are thinking too small. So what it is the therapist actually summoned the monster to challenge us and make us like better heroes and get past some of our shortcomings. And, in an effort to make us better, they're doing evil shit. But the reason that the starfish or squid or whatever comes to Ohio is because that's where it was summoned to by the therapist secretly.
Right.
But it justifies because it has intellectualization, so it justifies why it decided to do its plan in Ohio.
Yeah. And the reason the therapist is thus a villain is when we have that moment where we look at it and go, but look at all the damage you're wrought and all the people you're hurting, because somehow, despite the fact we're all varying degrees of fuck up, we actually care about other human beings. The therapist is like, well, so what? They're here to witness you're awesome and how cool you are because you're the heroes. They're they're NPCs on the stage, and it's like, no, that's
no. If you want to do it, it's like, listen. The problem is for them, their problems. They don't have anything to show them that they can get beyond those problems. That's why they need heroes. That's why they need larger than life figures to show them what's possible in their own lives. So that's why I had to summon this evil squid here, who's made a machine to rehydrate and dehydrate the world.
Right. But you have that basic villainous misunderstanding, not where they think they were the hero of their own story, because the guy's obviously aware what he's doing is evil, but that whatever they're doing is justified and acceptable because other people and their objections are irrelevant to the greater cause.
Yeah, it's the greater good.
Yeah, and despite being quote-unquote good guys, none of us are really on board with that.
Yeah, because it's not really good.
Yeah, because our various foibles are ours, but at least we're not taking them out on people.
So, but we don't find out that it's him until later. So it's a giant squid assembling a doomsday device to steal all the world's water.
Well, if it's Sinister Squid, he's not necessarily a giant squid, although he can have a giant form.
This is partially a Power Rangers book, so make my monster grow is always an option.
It's a squid in a armored power suit, right?
So like the squid's armored power suit flies into a mecha squid to fight the mecha church.
Right. When we finally figure out what's going on, we go to challenge Sinister Squid. He interlocks his 8 arms plug into a mecha squid that then stands up and is an 8-armed combat mech that only Church can face in a Sentai style combat.
And he has like a bunch of minions that have like water helmets, and that.
Oh, and then the notes to the artist for that fight scene should literally be Trace 90s Power Rangers comic books.
That's the thing, is that the actual joke of Sinister Squid and Octodok both is that because classic comics, they share a weakness, and the weakness is they need water, right? So if he has squid minions in little squiddly suits, yeah, no, you defeat them by smashing their aquariums, and then they're stuck in Dayton, Ohio, going.
No. Here's how we do it. We don't just smash the aquariums. We use Ayrton's musical powers to create a musical resonance in the water that makes the squid all pass out.
Right.
Thus, Ayrton realizes that his powers are still useful and he can still be a contributing member to society.
Right. No, I was just envisioning a scene, though, where you have my character basically doing his Wolverine out, where he's attacking armored squid dudes and just smashing their faces, because that makes them spill out, and then they're helpless little squids on the concrete.
As long as in that scene, my character jumps up like on a ledge and says like, "Okay, and this is Wonderwall," before he starts playing the guitar.
Yeah.
Well, I think the obvious intimation, since we're not going to ride Church into battle like some kind of mecha horse, is since the three of us are closer to mundane level powered heroes. You know, the Hawkeye, the Scarlet, or the Black Widow, etc., of the team, that we do a lot more collaborative super action.
Yeah.
So we're all about like awesome moves and the like.
Well, again, you have the Power Rangers you can come to the rescue with here, because while the giant mech fight is happening, there are going to be like minions on the ground that have to be taken care of, and civilians that have to be evacuated.
We need to copyright that quickly.
How insidious.
How insidious. That is a villain statement if ever I've heard it.
But actually, related to the Power Rangers idea, what if the Church Zord was actually part of a Power Rangers team, but they kicked him out because of his crippling alcoholism?
Right.
That's great. So our villain is doing villainous stuff, right? And we are at low ebb, right? And while I'm not in favor of having a Justice League, because fuck that noise, right? That joke's been done, right? The Power Ranger-like team that Church got kicked out of shows up to fight the bad guy and gets their shit kicked in because Sinister Squid is actually an evil, villainous genius. The Doctor does not know what he's summoned.
No, they should go in on Church first and be like, "Are you drunk again while you're trying to fight this giant squid?" And he goes, "Maybe." Get the fuck out of here! And he solemnly stumbles away, running into buildings and stuff. And then they try and beat Sinister Squid.
Right, but that's the thing. Like, they can't though, because they think they're playing with a Ranger villain, right? Who abides Ranger villain rules,
right?
And it's like, no, he doesn't. I think that while the therapist might be our villain, right? That
he's a mastermind villain.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily understand what he's summoned, because Sinister Squid is more akin to a Thanos or a Darkseid, in that he is or even a Mongol from Warworld. He's a
the
space villain.
The therapist did too much DMT. And the Clockwork Elves told him to summon it.
Yeah. And when he summoned is far outside his scheme.
So what exactly is the power scheme my character's working with, so I have a better idea of how he fits into the big tapestry for the fight sequence?
I think the information is that if you have powers, they are either subtle or they are very practical.
No.
Right.
I got it.
Okay. Okay.
Larry should be kind of like a hidden Superman. Like his power comes from confidence instead of solar energy, though. But now that he's lost his confidence, he's lost his mojo.
So kind of like Gladiator, basically.
Oh, wait a minute. I got this. It's what if, instead of being Clark Kent, who discovers he came from an alien egg, and then became Superman, right? It's Clark Kent, grew up, went to school, became a newspaper guy, spent 20 to 30 years being a newspaper guy, and then discovered he's Superman.
Yeah, that.
So
You know
you're
what's-
extremely normal.
You know what's actually kind of funny about this is that I've always had an idea wrangling around my head of like, what if Superman, but he just is like, nah, I'm not doing any of this stuff. And then he later gets pulled into the adventure.
Yeah,
Right.
like, Superman's like, I can fly, but fuck that. It's like exercise.
Because when you think about it, when you think about the Kal-El,
public transit is cheaper and easier.
because when you think about the Kal-El origin, and I'm not shitting on that, it's a well-made origin. He actually stops being Clark Kent the second he discovers he's an alien. Everything else becomes built around, I have to pretend to be Clark Kent.
Hold up. This actually ties in better to my idea for the whole neurosis approach for my character coming in. He only started being alienated from everybody once he tried to use his superpowers. And the therapist actually went out to recruit him, like, going, wow, if I get this guy straightened out, he could be like the marquee superhero. And then all of my attempts to make these other heroes work out will make sense.
Right. But in that sense, then, the emphasis is not on Kryptonians are better than humans and have a unwritten, unspoken, inexplicable mandate to make humanity better, right? It's, you're a normal guy from normal origins with a normal perspective for whom superpowers are either a actual curse or frightening and hard to understand, because even though you have them, you literally don't understand them.
Yeah.
You know, it's none of this, well, I'm such a decent fellow because I go around trying
Like,
not to break things. It's like,
you give the death stare to somebody and you accidentally shoot eye beams at them and you're like, fuck, I didn't know I could do that.
right. You know, if we were to do a shot in your house, you have dozens of coffee cups because you keep breaking them and they're expensive to replace, so then you buy them in bulk. These blank white cups that are all interchangeable from China.
I like that. I like that. And also, later on, when we get into the whole, he has a day job as a newspaper person, like, everybody at the newspaper hates him because he's actually, above the board. He's like trying to report, Square News, and all these other people are trying to be, outright hacks.
The Square News.
Well, because this is a modern book being written by modern people, the obvious intimation is that you're working for a business that is either trying to go digital and going to be Gawker, right? Or it's trying to go Fox News, right?
Right.
Since you won't, for whatever reason, yield to be yellow journalism and paparazzi, right? They're like, no, you don't get bylines with Lois Lane. Lois Lane, if she exists, doesn't have time for your bullshit. Because she's upward momentum. She wants to go places. So you're doing like flower shows and openings.
Yeah. And
you're like, can I be on the crime beat? They're like, no, we need people that actually work on the crime beat.
But also, like, the fact that all these people are reporting things that aren't actually correct. They're just spinning garbage takes out there. And Lois Lane is an info babe who's on TV producing absolute garbage trash news.
Yeah.
It's like my character, when he was like trying to, make it work as a journalist, thought, man, she's really attractive. And then, like, once I got powers, I got a chance to see what the world's like going, like, wow, this is really a terrible place that I work. I hate it here.
You can even lift directly from other elements of the Superman parable by, like, when you were going to high school, you did actually know Lana who would go on to be a supermodel, and you really did try to date her, and she dumped you because you're boring.
Oh. I like where we're going here. I like this energy.
And now that you're a superhero, you know, she wants to get back into your life because she thinks it'll help her career. It has nothing to do with liking you. She still thinks you're boring.
This is coming together wonderfully. So during the big fight with the squid, I do like an ice breath thing. And also, my character is the one who figures out there's something weird with extra dimensional alien squids because he can hear things coming in from another dimension.
Right.
None of the rest of us realize that there's something weird about it.
No.
You're the only one that goes like, this is kind of strange.
Well, no. Church would have noticed that, but he was busy hotboxing himself with weed.
Yeah. And at some point in the interim before the big fight scene in the climax, we should all be in the middle of a frozen wasteland questioning an Ozymandias lookalike about this.
I think that actually, I think the inner joke is that we all kind of knew something was going on, but we lacked the language or the mindset to express it.
Wait, can we need to fit in a line where one of us says, like, we need to hide this from the government, this is a secret war? And then we also need to work in some sort of Alan Moore reference.
Wait, no, that's it. That's it. Our therapist is named Mr. Moore.
Yes, please.
So
and he's a fish person. He's a fish person.
Well, no. Here's the idea. Mr. has spent his entire life before this moment he was the psychologist who came on and destroyed superheroes psychologically, talked about how, they were a great moral disgrace to society, but he's realized he's wrong and he's trying to fix these superheroes that he's broken.
Right. And his specialty is psychopharmacology. He's all about giving us the mind-altering drugs we need to function. But what I was going to say is that, no, if you think about it, okay, if we're talking about interdimensional squids, right, in quantum physics, that's right, we're going to put on our science hats for a minute, they talk about the divider between universes as being branes, BRANES,
yes.
Right, like membrane. And they infer, though no one's really going out on a limb and saying it, that you would travel between dimensions vibrationally, right? Ergo, logically, why is my character increasingly agitated and losing it? Because I'm an animal person, and I'm aware of vibrational mechanisms, but I don't understand them, because it's why dogs stand in a room and bark at nothing.
Likewise, Ayrton's character, because of his musical abilities, notices strange sounds in the background.
I was actually going to bring that up, like
exactly,
something like that into it too.
Yeah, you basically, of the characters, Ayrton, you're the one who actually has a steady job and could be fucking famous because of your musical ability, right? But every time you go to play recently, you keep hearing something under the current of what you're aiming for, and it's throwing off your game. So you're like, I can't play anymore. So you're this dude with all these instruments, some of which are super powered, and you're like, I can't play my instruments. I don't know. And people think that it's performance anxiety.
No, okay. So we need to work in a villainess then named Venus Hum. Now,
Jesus
for
Christ.
those of you who don't know what Venus Hum is, that's literally a neurological disorder where you hear a constant pitch in your ears no matter what it is.
Oh God, that sounds horrific.
So it's not like tinnitus where you hear ringing every now and then. You'll hear like a constantly. There's actually a band named after that disorder, and one of the members who has it, he actually writes all of their music around that pitch that he hears, because it's basically the only way he can function as a human. It's actually really fascinating.
and 100% Church totally knows they're intergalactic, interdimensional squids.
He just doesn't
But
care.
But
yeah,
he-
he's
he got
drunk. He's too drunk and high to tell people.
No, I just look at you
I
guys
knew-
and be
I
like,
knew-
I just look at you guys and say it's not Cthulhu. So I mean, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal.
I knew there were dimensional squids, but I got high.
Y'all ever done DMT?
No, but have you ever done D&D?
But okay. So we have our story. So Act 1, introducing the characters, introducing the secret antagonist, which leads to a secret war, if you will, to get us over our psychological problems. What's the Act 2?
Well, no, I thought that was Act 2.
Okay, well, Act 2 is when he launches into his scheme.
Right, but the thing is that the first portion of that scheme, we don't necessarily know it's a scheme. We think it's actual group self-help. Right?
So it's like your character says, so wait, you're saying that there's a supervillain. Is that our feelings? Is it one of those kind of things?
Because I don't want to talk about my feelings. I hate that guy. but no, what I mean is like, okay, so Act 1's introductions, right? And then Act 2, described as the secret war against neuroses, is basically, it's like these are our characters getting our homework. I want you to go from a group today, and I want you to go out, and I want you to help one person, and I want you to do it in a way that doesn't cause any, property damage or violence,
destruction.
and I want you to write about it in your dream journal and come back and tell me how you feel about it.
Basically.
All right. And
well, because Act 3 is the building action, so Act 3 is when the villainous portion of his plan comes into fruition, right? Because now actual bad things have to happen.
Sinister Squid comes on Ohio Cable Access Television to announce that he's coming to take over the dimension of Ohio.
Yes, because the squids perceive our existence as dimensional, not physical.
Yeah, and he's not aware that there's more than just Ohio. He just assumes that the entire planet is Ohio.
I have come to conquer the world of Ohio. Pray I do not expand my influence further. And then the Act 4 is
I actually love that.
Act 4
is the actual battle against Sinister Squid.
Novel Bro says, "I am your feelings. Look at me. I am your antagonist now."
and like,
way, what's up, Novel Bro?
Novel Bro.
And the transition between Act 2 and Act 3 is where we all have the moment where I say, "Hey guys, there's like some weird extra-dimensional alien thing going on," and Ayrton says, "Wait, what?" So that's what that vibration is, and then you realize that with the animal sense, and you go, and Church goes, "Guys, it's not Cthulhu. It's not that big of a deal." I got like a bunch of light here that tells me that.
No, the panel is we're all having our close-ups. We're all looking at each other like, huh. And then there's Church's panel where he's like shrugging. He's like, it's not Cthulhu. It's not that important. And then the last panel at the bottom is all of us just staring at Church like he's fucking stupid or going to second head. like what?
And that transitions into the not Power Rangers going, wait, are you drunk right now trying to fight a giant mega squid? Maybe. Look,
Maybe.
you're too drunk to be involved in a mecha battle right now.
You're not my mom.
That's how they get their asses kicked, because it's not Suicide Squad. I want to be clear. It's not a situation where we're a bunch of wild fuck-ups, but we somehow succeed and you love us for it in a really artificial way. We're still fuck-ups. right? So the Church is fighting the Mecha Squid. The Power Rangers show up and basically try to send Church off field, right? Church appears to storm away like, I don't need you guys, right? And then comes back and somehow fucks it up for them, trying to be the heroic guy and save it at the last minute.
No, like the Sinister Squid, incapacitates them, and he goes in Leroy Jenkins style on Sinister Squid in his Mecha Squid suit.
He actually screams Leroy Jenkins.
Yes.
Whereas the three of us go after the base. Ayrton uses music to make a bunch of them get incapacitated. I use like super freezing breath, and you're just like squishing heads of invertebrates.
I'm raging out against the troops on the march in the street, right? And this gives you guys the window to get into the base. And Ayrton gets into the command center, and he plugs in, like they literally have a port for some device, but it just happens to conform to an amp, right? So he plugs in and starts rocking out on the PA, which is causing, massive damage. And while he's doing that, you're doing the actual legwork of seeing the base go down.
Yeah. So like I fly all the way down to the bottom, like destroy the power plant, like knock out the foundations so that it all collapses in on itself.
It all looks very Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then the falling action would be the very short Act 5, which is like, hey guys, we did it. And then we like pan quick to Akron, and it's just fucking wrecked. It's like,
Dayton. It's more embarrassing than
Dayton. Yeah, we quick pan to Dayton. It's just fucking wrecked and on fire.
No. Like the final page should be the therapy session, and like the therapist says, "Well, listen, guys. I think you've made serious progress here." And like that should be like with the town burning in the background. So like we've made forward momentum with you each, trying to resolve the problems you have.
Can I kill a guy now? just a question like, can I kill him? Maybe jail. Does he have to walk? It's like, probably not. Because we should turn him in after we've broken his fucking kneecaps.
And like, for a future episode of this comic book, obviously Ayrton would have to fight the Blues Devil.
Oh yeah. No, once Sinister Squid has broken the dimensional barrier and the wider gospel verse is open, all kinds of extra dimensional and magical entities will begin to pour in. Yeah, the gospel verse, of course.
Yeah, you gotta have a multiverse these days.
Look, the obvious deep dark secret is that centuries ago, somebody created a gospel like the Key of Solomon to lock away this dimension from the rest of the multiverse to keep it safe. And our doctor has fucked that up. So the gospel is open, and all of these horrible ideas are flowing in.
You can't say shit like that when I'm taking a drink. Holy
But you see, this is actually a good story. We have concocted we have concocted a good story.
With alcohol and jokes, we have concocted something that people might actually want to read.
Is it? Well, okay.
So all our characters are.
Is it so stupid that it's gone full circle, like horseshoe theory, and become good, or is it?
This is actually stupid. The stupid is the humor, to make people not realize that you're looking at people with crippling mental disorders and how the only way that they're able to get over their disorders is by something horrible to happen to other people.
Yeah, it's using humor to talk about heavy subjects without being preachy or heavy. Comics used to do that, a long time ago.
Oh, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
I forgot people actually used to be able to write comic books properly.
Well, this worked out. So here's my question for you, Rune. Do you think we could actually pull this off in 24 or 18 with like 6 pages to spill over for excess?
I'm unsure. I know we have a good framework, but for actual pages, I'm not sure. I do want to use Dillard's rule. If Dillard's still in the watching. That we need to have like the first arc needs to be 18 pages roughly, and if we cannot make a complete, coherent, interesting story within that first 18 pages, it doesn't matter how interesting the rest of it is, because you need to get people hooked. How I generally approach it, because we're actually talking about not necessarily graphic novel length, but graphic novel structure, is I tend to think of it as I'm going to make one book in several interconnected books as a self-contained story. So story 1 is basically Act 1 with elements of Act 2 to get the reader reading. We want them to read about us, our stand-in characters, and like us, and want to know more about us. Because otherwise it doesn't matter.
By the way, I want to use my guitar to Pete Townsend some fuckers.
What did Pete Townsend do? I mean, I assumed you were going to wield it like
Pete Townsend would like smash his guitar on shit on stage. So I just want
totally.
With my guitar.
I assumed that you'd wield it like a mighty axe. I mean, at end of day, what you actually probably have, Ayrton, is you've got like a quiver of instruments, right? And the guitar is your main. Your guitar's your main, but like you might actually like go stop, and then pull out like the fucking flute from that music video and go like.
And that's actually how Ayrton and Church hooked up in this whole situation. Is like he was drunk and deactivated somewhere, and he pulled up
another word instead of hooked up.
Made a connection.
Ayrton, you just have to embrace your subtle bromance with a large robot building.
I don't want to get penetrated by a church Megazord dick.
Well, I mean, you don't.
I'm just glad that you know you would be on the bottom.
No, like
look.
The reason you two are friends here is because you actually activated him after friends. Not Power Rangers team deactivated him due to his extreme alcoholism. You just happen to have a magical dagger that you could play.
No. What happened was he was fucked up, drunk, and poured half a 40 out on the area that I was buried under, and that woke me up.
Look,
he poured one out for the homies on top of me, and I became his homie.
Look. Ayrton, out of this 4-piece super team, you're the only one that's actually been inside church, so you can't avoid the sexual comparisons.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with this anymore.
He's got a pilot seat.
And also, during the fight sequence with the squids, my character's still unsure of his powers. Like, a squid punches him with, like, a metal squid arm, and like the arm like concaves in, and then he like just very casually, lightly backhands the squid out of the way.
I mean that's a perfect example. Is we're all like those of us who are quote badass normals. We're like tied up, right? Because we're going to get wrecked at some point, right? And one of the squids extends a tentacle in a mecha sleeve, and you see the tentacle flatten, the sides open, and it turns into like a chainsaw, right? Like, oh shit, they go on chainsaws because they're boneless, so they can like swing their tentacle arms, in wild directions with chainsaw ends in ways that would wreck people. And then as it goes against your skin, all the teeth break off and the tentacle goes. You're like, oh, right. Unbreakable skin. I'm sorry. And you just stand up because they just cut the ropes. It's like, you guys need help up?
Okay. So
I mean, we probably want to err on the side, actually, of original Superman, who could just do sort of super leaps and was
yeah.
resilient, not actual, like, modern Superman with a billion powers.
Well, no.
He can leap. No,
What we want to do is actually like Golden Age Superman, where he starts off that way, just like more powers just keep being added as necessary.
Yeah.
no, he
And my
can
character's
leap.
like,
Instead of he can leap tall buildings in a single bound, he can leap a 2-story building in a single bound, maybe a bound and a half.
and then later I find out that I got my powers from some alien technology that I randomly picked up because I was at a flower show. And like the alien says, there's a reference to The Greatest American Hero, and the alien's saying, "Wait, you didn't pick up the user manual? There's a user's manual. I was just like at a swap meet, man."
I both love and hate this at the same time, so I think this is going to be great.
Oh, it's in fact everything that you would think I would hate. Like,
So,
I should have admitted, this is not a comic.
Hold on. Allison Pell says he can leap a large curve in a single bound.
Allison.
But here's the problem with this: is this lives or dies on the dial.
Yes, it's gotta be funny. If it's not funny, it's not worth it.
Well, obviously.
But no, I would say this is totally the kind of comic that I, as a comic reader, would not read. but I also will say it doesn't sound bad.
No.
My thing is, because I mentioned this film earlier, I actually would want to avoid comparisons to Mystery Men, because Mystery Men is what I hate about comics from that era. It's not that it was making fun. Making fun is great. It's not that it wasn't funny. I know lots of people who love that movie. Apparently it's funny as shit. But I always found the deconstruction humor mean-spirited. Right? We're doing this because, first of all, we are...
This is stupid humor. This isn't deconstruction humor.
I'm just saying, some of us are drunken assholes, and some of us are just regular assholes. But, we're assholes who like to have fun.
It's dickheads. Come on, get it right.
Yeah, sure, it's dickheads. But my thing is like, we also love comics as a medium, as an idea, as a thing, right? So this is loving send-up. This is beloved parody. I would not want to make something that is like, comics suck, and this is what they look like, you clod. Anybody can do this. It's like, no, it's not like that at all.
So Ellison said a mild twist idea: take every Superman trope and make them apply to a regular dude.
I mean that's kind of what we came up with.
Yeah, more or less.
Except, of course, that we've made the public agreement that Lois Lane and Lana, what's her name, would never have interest in Clark Kent whatsoever, and the only reason he might even remotely make their panties wet is because he's Superman, which is a lot about them than it does about him.
Yeah.
God, I'm still mad about that. Fuck.
So like this story, Ayrton, has several levels that it works on. So like this, everybody's like a metatextual reference to a specific era and aesthetic in comics. There's substance abuse. What was your character's crippling neurosis, Ayrton?
Did we even come up with one for mine?
Well, that's
as a musician, it should be drug abuse.
Yeah.
Well, what I was positing was that as a character, he's the one that's actually most together. Like, you have the least reason for being here, right? Of the people that are messed up, but because literally hero stuff is interfering with your ability to function, you think you have deeper problems, so you're here. Excuse me a minute.
So I basically got scammed like BetterHelp.
Exactly. That.
Okay. Like, I think I have problems, and somebody convinced me I did, and I'm wasting money doing this shit. I can dig it.
And my character's like, I work at a place where there's all these millennials who like write all sorts of mean-spirited stuff. Like they're saying, the president's literally Hitler, and I'm like going, why is he literally Hitler? Well, I mean, he just is. God. Well, why are you such a boomer and requiring like proof in our journalism? Isn't that what they taught you in journalism school? I didn't go to journalism school. I was an Instagram influencer.
Oh, someone I disagree with has the coup and might die. I am happy. I'm gonna celebrate that.
So
Sorry.
church.
so some
Yeah.
real life shit leaked out in that.
Yeah. So church. How do you like this this experimental format we've done tonight for the show?
I mean, it seemed to work out. It actually produced something, and I'm a little ashamed of that, to be honest.
Why are you ashamed? Why are you ashamed that we were able to produce something that was actually good sounding?
Because I wasn't able to disrupt it enough to prevent anything
That's-
from actually happening.
That's how low his expectations were for the rest of us.
Let's talk about the bar and how low it actually is.
It's so
Net-
low a Jamaican can't limbo underneath it.
I mean, now I'm fucking depressed. Mission accomplished, church.
And like for another issue of this comic, the Church of Failure is asleep, and like an actual Alcoholics Anonymous is meeting inside of him. And he wakes up saying, "No, this is how you bastards are going to trick me into going to a meeting by having me be where the meeting is."
I still like the
And then
idea
he
of
tries
me
to
just
walk
doing.
away, but we're still inside him, still having the meeting.
Oh
And
no!
he's
I
just
walk
continuously
away.
getting more angry.
No, I walk away to a cliff and pop a squat like I'm going to take a shit, and then just eject all of you from my rectal cavity.
Michael Bay already had Transformers
you-
in
you
one
say-
of the movies.
You say we're gonna have to go inside church. I appear on screen, so to speak, like in a full body condom or like a latex suit
a hazmat
covered
suit.
covered in KY, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm ready to go in. It's like, that's not necessary, man. We're just gonna open the door.
You just seen putting KY jelly back into a pouch on the condom that you're wearing.
Man, I had this condom tailored. I ordered it from New York.
This is one of Shaq's used.
From some Upper East Side fashion.
No, this is one of
designer
Shaq and
that does
Shaquille
them
O'Neal's youth joints.
That is, in fact, one of the meta jokes we can hide in is like, when my character's killing dudes and wrecking shit, we can actually show me using the pouches. Like the entire comic, I've been getting more pouches and more equipment. It's like, oh, none of this shit's ever going to be useful. This is all just to look cool. It's like, no, it all does things. It's got like knives and caltrops and dust.
But you have to buy a hot dog from a street vendor who's out of condiments, and you have to pull mustard and ketchup out of one of the pouches and put it on your hot dog.
And while you're in the middle of a fight looking for something, you have to be like, no, that's just bat shark repellent.
No, I can see like at some point.
Confused.
No, like at some point, like I get piled on by a bunch of squids who are gonna wreck me, and it's like I can't get it in my pouches, so I like start reaching around for shit, and I find the hot dog and mustard from the knocked over hot dog cart, and I'm holding it in both hands like knives, point down, and I'm just spraying them with mayonnaise and with mustard and ketchup, going, ah!
You put yeah. And then the squids are like, what? You don't put mustard and ketchup on a squid? Has to be teriyaki.
It's like, I fucking hate calamari!
All right. So
Here I was thinking I was going to be bad for
Larry's-
requesting some sushi
Larry's
jokes.
Larry's like, okay, this is getting too stupid now. Let's rein it back in.
so I'm kind of looking at. I'm thinking of RuneKnight's character. He's like a D man.
I'm sorry, I missed a couple of words of that. I'm a what?
A shorter D man, like the homeless former professional wrestler superhero.
Mm.
Yeah, D-Man looks exactly
Okay.
like Wolverine, except the homeless version
Ah.
is brown instead of blue.
Okay.
And like, but your character's wearing like old '90s clothes because you got them at the Goodwill, and
Right.
and you realize later that, oh wait, I gave these to the Goodwill.
Well, I mean, because
My name
also
is thrown into the tag of these underwear.
Well, because also loving send up of the classic, like an early, I can't say it's early indie, but it's like maybe early modern indie comic most people have forgotten even exists. Loving send up of the Max.
Yeah, the Max.
Yeah, because the Max was an edgy '90s hobo making fun of being an edgy '90s hobo.
And my character's got like a cosplay quality superhero costume.
in matter
So
in
it's
matter
made
of,
out of plastic and styrofoam.
in matter of point, in the early act when we're describing our characters and our foibles in group, right? Each character's story can be presented in the style of their form of comics, right? As like a one page. So like Ayrton's would be like a fruit pie advertisement, right? And then Church's, of course, would be very Silver Age with the story of how he crashed on Earth and then joined a team and then was dismissed. And when it's him walking away, it's a homage to the Spider-Man Hero No More panel, right? Albeit with a bottle of alcohol in one hand. And then when they get to mine, it's like, I'm just every edgy, try-hard, black and white. It's like, I got out of my box and they were bad men and I had to fucking kill them. And I was gonna do it. But then, the cops show up and arrest me.
Like I said, you're on a skateboard while wearing rollerblades with two backwards hats.
Right. And then we get to Larry, and it's like, okay, so Larry, would you please tell us about your day? And you just describe the most mundane human office experience, where it's like, I had
to go to the HR department because they're complaining in the Slack for our office. I didn't tell somebody that I validated their pronouns. But, like, their pronouns were even in the context of what we were talking about on that Slack post.
You were confused because you don't know how to you don't know how to pronounce and validate a wingding.
You tip your hat and say "Madady."
You just look at him and you just like take on this cast of Samuel L. Jackson and you go, Monica.
say pronoun one more time, motherfucker.
Yeah, so that's like my character's problem, or like, everybody in the office just said, you're a stupid boomer, why don't you go to Substack? And
wait,
I had to look at what Substack
are you secretly Ethan Van Sciver in this comic, Larry? Getting cast out for being a Trump supporter?
No.
How dare you? Larry is not fat enough to be.
Well, there are actual journalists who got driven out of the industry and had to go to Substack before the comic book guys went to Substack. So yeah, that'd be like, it's all these like hateful millennials and Zoomers who are in the newsroom.
Yeah.
And I'm just like a normal guy wanting to say like, hey, we should probably, source that anonymous rumor you heard from a guy at a party. And also, I don't think we should cite, anonymous rumors you heard from somebody you were doing cocaine with.
Yeah. In matter of point, maybe Ayrton's here electively because he's dealing with dysfunction, right? Maybe the reason you're here is because it was mandated, right? You did something that HR was like, this is inappropriate. You need to go to therapy, and they literally sent you to this guy for your problem. Like maybe you would have been having a rough day, and you'd been holding it together. You didn't hurt anybody or anything.
You smacked a secretary's ass a little too hard.
No. He was
not like that. Nothing like that.
Like you walked to the communal coffee pot to get the blackened tar that they call caffeine, and you're holding it there as somebody's laying into you with some ephemera piece of nothing, and you slipped. You did that thing you do at home with your coffee cups that you didn't mean to. You just squeezed, and the entire pot shattered in your hand. And they were like, you are so angry. You need anger management help. You need to go to, and they send you to this guy. And you're like, God damn it.
But my character also realizes, well, I kind of sucked at dating. That's a problem. And I really don't like any of my family or friends.
Well, it's stupid to say, but I'm serious. If we're going with the Superman joke, the obvious intimation is that Ma and Pa Kent don't get it. Because they raised you right, but you had to go off and be one of them shitty folk. Why aren't you working the farm? Because you're an egghead. You weren't good for sports.
Unlike actual Clark Kent, who did play football and then pretended to not be good at football.
Yeah.
So he didn't expose the secret.
Yeah. After years of being amazing at football in I want to say up to college, he suddenly goes, you know what? I just don't want to do football. And it's like, no, son, you don't understand. You could make so much money at football.
So we have created something here.
For better or for worse.
So here's a question. Now this was just to come up with the church, the gospel verse characters here. So do you think we could try this with something else?
Oh, absolutely. If anything, I think doing it with the staff and the hosting of the Gospel of Comics is the silliest part of this.
That was the challenge. I was going how the heck are we going to do this and make it
I have always been of the argument that either we could create our own original content.
This was original.
Or this was something. Or as a take that giant middle finger to the powers that be, and perhaps even to gain publicity for the show, we could take broken ass comics that have been made recently and fix them. Because people hate that.
Wait. Let's write Cyberfrog 2 in less than 64th of the time that it took Ethan.
I mean, maybe. I was thinking more like, hey man, let's do Ironheart, but with brains.
Oh, you mean...
Yeah.
Didn't they already do that with Rescue?
They did.
Triage, rather. Triage?
They did! But then they ignored it because Triage was a white woman with red hair, and we can't have those in comics.
Well, you're not wrong about that.
Actually, I think that's a fun idea. We should take the horrible things that everybody hates in comics and say, can we make it better?
We've actually touched on it more than once. Like when we talked about I Am Starfire, once we had finally seen it, once you finally read it, you can't help but talk about the missed opportunities. And missed opportunities literally become the better story that wasn't written.
You're not wrong.
So, we've kind of done it before. We've just never broken into the seriousness of we gonna script.
Because I do think this was a fun experience.
The only sad thing is, I'm not saying we're not going to. I'm saying the only sad thing to my perspective is I've got my notes here in the notepad, right?
Mhm.
I could theoretically start blocking out content and then add in things like character descriptions and whatnot. Could we put together a book? Yes. Could we then produce the book? No.
Yes.
I mean, maybe. I don't think that
Why couldn't we?
because
We
first
might
the
not have
question
the
is
fan
how.
base to crowd. We might not have the fan base to crowdfund it, but I have like ends in the printing industry, and so does Larry.
I mean, okay.
We could get copies made.
Yeah, but then you got to get the product. Even if you get the product made. Now you got to get the product to market. What are we gonna do? Take it to Substack?
No, we send it to.
I have a
A
couple
few
of
of the
local
people,
shops that I can drop a few copies off at. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to make the next Wolverine.
I
know,
get
I
it.
mean,
Just-
we send it to a couple. We send it to some of the people, Rune, that we know from this show that have made successful projects that might be interested in it. You know.
literally, my impression was we're the kind of people that we have really great ideas and we have no go juice. So I mean, if you guys got juice I didn't know about, you're hiding your secret powers from me.
Yeah, I work 60 hours a week, and that's where all my go juice goes.
Right.
Also, he has children.
No, I
Children,
got.
children are another thing that drain out your go juice.
Well, because the
no,
other thing
I mean-
is as I have mentioned a couple of times, the reason I hadn't been checking in with Dillard recently, and I haven't been on the radar of the comics arena, running from podcast to podcast as I was for a while, is the combination of taking care of my mom and trying to put together some work to show. Right? Sometimes it's difficult to balance life and labor.
Yeah.
But if there is actual momentum that requires me to find the fucking time, I can stop sleeping, drink more coffee, and see what I can do.
You know, we send a copy over to Don, to Dillard, to
Sure.
over to Alterna. I know a couple people who are published through Alterna.
I mean, the big thing is you got to pay for art, and art's expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the problem.
I mean, I can do it all as thick figures.
You know, I was just reminded of the 3rd edition of the Cyberpunk role-playing game where they just painted action figures, different colors, and put stuff on them for art. For the book.
I sadly cannot do digital art. I can draw traditional, but that's of little use nowadays.
So I mean we technically have the resources if we really wanted to get like a single issue done up and made. We probably could.
Well, I mean, that brings us to the inevitable question, because this is the hot button topic for comics, right? Is do you go all in on the graphic novel because you want to sell people the complete story and that's what people want to see? Or do you sell them the issue in the hopes that if they like the issue enough that they'll want to see the follow-up?
Or do you do a modified version of that where you like stream out the issue on Patreon and then you do an actual crowdfund for like the omnibus with everything in it?
Yeah, I mean that's the crunch. Because that brings us back to Dillard's rule that he proposed, which is tell the story in 18 pages. If you can't tell it in 18 pages, you're not doing it right. Right? Is what do we fill in those pages with? I don't know if that's a conversation we can resolve, in a single show. We might have to revisit this.
Well, probably.
Well, I mean, if we went to revisit this, what we'd do is Rune would do like a draft, and maybe
Yeah.
you'd send it to me, and then I'd do a draft, and then we could maybe show up saying, hey, here's a draft of that comic we talked about, and we can read it, we can talk about it, we can have
Wait a
a good
minute.
laugh.
Wait a minute. You mean have a comic undergo multiple pairs of eyes instead of Dan Slott just vomiting onto a page and handing it off to somebody to make it?
Yeah,
I know it sounds crazy, but it might just work.
And then I mean, I would expect you guys to reach out to friends and what and get a decent.
Yeah, and the thing is also with this kind of a comic, I'm not sure you'd need super expensive art, kind of.
I feel like the cheaper the art, the better it makes the story with what we came up with, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally looking at this in my head as like 90s Power Rangers level art, which is still decent and not pick out what's going on, but it's not like Dillard or whatever level.
Church, you're sounding a little distant.
I shouldn't be. I'm talking right into my mic.
I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
maybe you're listening a little far away, Rune.
It could be. I could just. I mean, sometimes I like to remove my headset, hold it as far from my face as I can, and just shout at the microphone, into the darkness.
As you do. So I think we've wrapped this concept up, though we may revisit and we may do a read of a first or second draft and see, were we able to make something coherent and good out of this editorial session.
The obvious answer is that if we actually get up to a script, we do a reading of it in our characters. much as we did the Powerpuff Girls read, because
as long as I don't have to read as Alex Jones again, because that was brutal.
No, you'd read as you. I'm just saying that the obvious intimation is that we're equal opportunity jokesters. We will have a laugh at ourselves. We're not just pointing fingers at other people and laughing. Although, late news. I don't know if we ever brought this up. Did you guys hear that one of the actresses for the Powerpuff Girls thing quit?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if she heard the show and went, "Oh my god, what am I involved in?"
That is a dream. To read a script so bad, an actress quits the project because they heard our interpretation of it. That is my only goal. That is my only goal for this show.
Is that your headcanon now?
It is. It was the actress who played Bubbles. She heard my Bubbles as Alex Jones and was like, I can't do any better than that. I'm just gonna quit acting altogether. I'm gonna go clean houses in West Hollywood. I'm
gonna go blow producers at InfoWars.
Also, this image just randomly came across my feed. It's in show suggestions.
I'm gonna take it under advisement. No promises.
But anyway, Trish,
right.
I think we've played this concept out enough, so I think we need to have Ayrton sing us off.
Oh,
there's no singing.
Right.
He should just be like, "Good night, everyone," like he usually is. But let me get Rune's image up.
Get the image up.
It's a strong final statement.
We'll let it hang for a second. Let people really ingest it, take it in.
We're hanging brain. Are we hanging brain?
No, they're gonna get penetrated by the sentiment of this image, and then I'm gonna say.
I mean, I've got to say that the entire American comics industry looks pretty strong with that church-looking dude on their side. I've got to say, I'm rooting for the ones with the giant and the crucified Jesus in the background.
God damn it. Good night, everybody.